Yeah. What's L3 for software engineer? Do you have to manage people?
No. Usually you're still an individual contributor.
Okay.
After that, there's two routes you can take. Either be a really good individual contributor or you start doing management.
I feel like I enjoy management, but I don't like directing. Does that make any sense? I want someone to tell me their vision and then I will execute that vision. I don't know if management like that exists though.
That's where I'm a bit unsure about the difference.
Yeah, because I'm not confident in my skill to innovate. But I feel like
You're not even at that point yet, so it's like way too early to say right now.
That is true. Well, I'm just looking at what my future could be if I go down this path.
I don't think you've started this path yet.
Okay.
Unless you want to go down the straight managerial path, like do project management, in which case you don't need a technical background, you just need to manage people. That's the other option.
I think it's useful to imagine what kind of job I'd enjoy. And I'm not saying it like...
I agree, but when you say something like you don't have the skills to do something, that's a given. You haven't even started entry-level work, so how can your skills be at a level where you can be a director?
I don't know if I'm really talking about skills as much as like passion.
You just said I'm not confident in my skills to become a director.
Okay, well I meant passion. And also, I really enjoy doing collaborative things.
You'd be doing collaborative things no matter what role you're in.
And I enjoy like planning things for the whole team.
Enjoy what?
Planning for the whole team.
Planning? You said? Planning?
Yes. I like planning.
For yourself or for other people? Because
For other people.
you wouldn't be doing it as a manager either.
Well, I guess it wouldn't like manager role then.
As a manager, you're kind of, you tell people what to work on, but for the actual schedule and timeline, it's on the individual to figure that out.
Well then I guess I wouldn't like manager role then.
I feel like you wouldn't, because as a manager, you would not do art. So if what you want to do is art, you probably don't want to do management.
No, that's not necessarily true. That I want to do art.
It's
I don't
not
just
true?
enjoy doing art. Yeah. I do actually genuinely enjoy planning because it makes me feel organized, but also it's kind of stressful sometimes when people don't follow the plan, and I feel like that happens a lot in the industry. Just in general.
Like I said, you're not planning for other people. You're just telling them what needs to be worked on.
I am not really talking about managing anymore. I'm just talking about planning in general. And if there was a job like that out there somewhere, then I would probably like that job. And it doesn't have to be management. Whatever you want to call it.
I would say any role needs to plan for their own day. So you'll be scheduling for yourself no matter what you choose.
Great, I'd like any role then.
The more talking about it makes me realize that I don't want to do management ever. It seems miserable. Not only do you not code or whatever, do your actual technical stuff, but you also have to take responsibility for the deliverables. So if you have incompetent team, you're the one who needs to take accountability.
Yep.
What else? Most of your day as a manager is probably meetings, but that's basically the same for any position. The higher you go, the more meetings you are in. So as a entry level, you're probably mostly just going to be doing work. And the more senior you get, the more meetings you will be in. It is what it is.
I did not ask about the manager role because I'm prospecting the prestige or the pay. I was wondering if I would like it as a job, but
I didn't
from the
mention the
sounds of
pay,
it,
but I think in terms of pay, it's usually less than senior engineers. Or it depends on what level of management you're in, but for example, my manager probably makes less than me, or definitely less than the senior devs on the team.
well, the way you made it sound like you're not anywhere close yet. Like,
To
I don't need to be. I don't feel like I need to be close to like
oh, I
think
mean,
about what I want to do
management
for the rest
is
of my life.
like that kind of management is to like you would not be going to art school to be that kind of manager. You would have to go to whatever school managers go to. Like it's something you start as, and or there's two types of managers. There's managers who come from a management background, which is what I'm describing, and then there's also managers who have ascended the ladder and become technical managers, and those are pretty different paths. One of those requires you to start as the entry-level technical worker, whereas the other one's from you just start as a manager. My manager is a manager, so that is why his pay is like that. But usually technical managers are not the ones managing small teams. Technical managers manage like a wider area of the org in general. So they are foreseeing how like different teams are working together to work on a larger technical project, whereas a team manager is just making sure everyone on the team is working on what is important, along with a lot of other things. Like it's pretty political being a manager as well. It seems miserable, I won't lie. The role of a manager is to allow your team to work to its fullest. So that means you have to tank distractions for your team and set things up so that your team can succeed. It's very... I don't know. I'm not interested. Technical manager, maybe, but like... I just want to be an individual contributor. In fact, sometimes I want to demote to entry level so I can be in less meetings and have less discussion and just do work and not talk to people. But it is what it is. There's an app called Blind, which is like Reddit, but for employees of companies, and you need to register with the company email to read and post. And I was reading I was interested in what people thought of the RTO policy, and unsurprisingly a lot of people did not like it. But one of the posts that I read was, how can I demote myself to an entry-level engineer? And he says, or not entry-level, I think he wanted to go to my level. He was a senior engineer, and he was like, I barely get to code. I spend all my time doing meetings. It's a 30% pay increase, but he says it's not worth it for the different job that he's doing. And then, yeah, I feel that. But also I feel like you should be able to speak to your manager and express how you feel and keep your role as a senior engineer while like shifting your responsibilities from meetings to coding. I feel like it should be manageable.
Maybe not manager then. Maybe the kind of planning I like doing is event planning. That sounds more like it.
That sounds super different. But I will say event planning probably does not make a lot of money. But I am not familiar with that industry. I've had, so my designer friends would, so like I would say a lot of the work at a tech company, usually you'll have a product and then you have, first you start with customer feedback, then based on the feedback you have a project manager who is in charge of this app, and they look at the feedback and they prioritize what they think is the most important stuff to work on, what features to deliver, and then based on that, the technical people will start drafting like a plan and a design. And then if it's like a web app, for example, there's a lot of components to it. There's usually going to be a front-end component and a back-end component. So the technical people will think of like the technical implementation, but eventually there will also need to be a design aspect, because as long as there's a front end component, if they want to make it look good, then they need a design. So the designers are usually very involved with the meetings that I'm talking about, and so that's why I say they're similar to software engineers, because we attend the same meetings for planning. But once the leads have settled on a design, usually they will split into their individual groups. So like there'll be a front-end team, a back-end team, a designer team, and then the leads will pick someone to do the actual implementation, and this will be an individual contributor, which is the entry level or mid-level or senior level people. And those people generally will only meet with other people in their team, and they won't meet across different teams. But during like the high level planning with the leads, those are all inter-team, including design. And that's also why the higher level people are always in meetings, because there's like 10 features, for example. They need to be planning out all 10 of them, Whereas on a team level, the lead just like delegates the tasks to the engineers and they just work on like one or two things. But the lead has to be in all of the meetings.
Just thinking, I was just trying to think about like, well, there's all kinds of designers. There's designers.
Yeah, I think the designer that I've worked with are UX design, but it's hard to say. I don't really know.
Well, it can really differ, and a lot of people, like, not in the tech industry, I feel like in the tech industry they don't really mix with people enough to actually know the difference, but like,
In what industry?
In the tech industry. But if you're first starting out and you're working for a company that doesn't really know design too well, they'll probably mix the terms UI and UX and whatever. And yeah, it's not the same. And not only that, but there's like interactive designer. Interactive design, and that's also something. And there's like web designer and mobile designer, and like these. It's not to say that these are all like completely separated either. There's definitely a lot of crossover, but there's, you know, people specialize in some parts of design, and like you can also be like a, you know, multifaceted designer, like a generalist. That's fine too. But you know, it's basically the takeaway is that there's not one. Like, if you go into the graphic design program, it's not just one job and that has the designer title. And yeah, I guess. And there's so many types of design too. It's like also packaged design and like not just on the tech end of it. So part of my introspection over the last year or two is like, what kind of designer do I want to be? Honestly, I'm like, again, I'm still not really, I'm not thinking about the money. Like, as long as it's a livable wage for me, like under the definitions that we thought of, like for me, as long as I can save enough money to do my passion, which is like traveling and playing games, I don't really care what kind of pay I have, and like obviously enough to like save up for emergencies when I need to go to the hospital or something, you know, or I lose my job or whatever, emergencies, you know. I don't feel like you need that much money to like have that sort of life. So But also, like you said, you don't have the. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of choice. Is that really true? I feel like the panelists today were kind of.
I think once you're so from a software engineering perspective, I think you should just keep your options open. When I was in school, I didn't think about if I was going to be a front-end dev or a back-end dev or embedded or anything. I just learned software engineering and I learned how to learn so that I can do anything. I feel like for my first job, I really did not care what I did. It was as long as it was an interesting task and I was learning, I was okay with front end or back end or anything. I ended up being at back end, even though my title was full stack. And now I'm doing embedded. I don't know if the different designs that you're talking about are flexible enough that you are able to use your skills that you learned between them, or if they have this, they share the same base knowledge. But if they do, then I would recommend just keeping it open so that you have as many options as possible when getting your first job. And then when you are have a more choice, then you can focus on what you want to do in the long term. Because when you get a job, chances are for your first job it's going to be for like 2 or 3 years. It's not going to be forever. Unless you find a dream job, which doesn't happen very often. And even if you do find the dream job, with the way jobs work, you can make more money by switching jobs. So that's something you have to weigh if... Yeah. I would hope that it's the perfect job that also pays well and promotes you and everything, but I don't think that such a company exists. Also, if it's a good company, it should let you wear many hats, the term people use. So if I was working at Palantir for longer and I wanted to do front-end development to experience it or learn, they should, if it's a good company, they'll let me so that I can continue learning.
I think it really just depends on the situation you find yourself in after your job or whatever. Especially when while applying for jobs. I mean, for your first job, you might not have the illusion. You might not have the luxury of choice. But I think the first set of panelists were like, they also had experiences where they absolutely hated the work environment, and then they knew what they wanted in a job and knew what they didn't want.
You mean outside of technical stuff?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
They're like, they don't want to work in that type of company, even if they had better pay, or even if it meant that they weren't unemployed and like that was their first job or something like that. But it's like after you get it and then you decide you don't like it. So then, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable to be like, I don't like this place, so I think I'm going to quit or and choose somewhere that I feel like is better. For
Yeah.
me. And that could be not technical, or that could be technical stuff too. Like, what if you just hate doing this type of design? Then, like, wouldn't you just really try to work towards the kind of design that you want? And yes, a lot of people don't have the luxury of doing it if they're not skilled at it.
I don't really
But I feel
know
like
what
if
you're trying to say, because you make it sound like your first job needs to be perfect. Exactly what you want, exactly the type of design you want, but I'm saying that just do whatever and then make your choice later.
I never been talking about my first job. I've always been like thinking about what I want my overall career to be like. And I don't think it's weird to want your career to like, especially once you've worked a little bit in the industry, to like want to direct your career towards a direction.
So my question to you is, if you already know what way to direct your career, then why wouldn't you pick that as your first job? And
because you don't have it as your first job. Like you said, it's not like your first job. I'm not talking about obtaining your first job. I'm talking about trajectory.
I'm saying that you don't know what you want until you get your first job, and that's why you should be flexible. If you already knew exactly what you wanted, then I would say just go for that as your first job. But the thing is, most people don't know what they want until they work and they see and they experience stuff. So
I never said I would not be flexible. I'm just thinking about what I would be passionate about, but that doesn't mean I'm closing all the opportunities that come to me. I feel like it's more like working I don't think being passionate about something means closing the doors for everything else. Like, for example, like, not even in the career sense, like, maybe someday I want to be a graphic designer, but then I draw anime art on the side because that's my passion or something. And, I don't think those things have to be exclusive. And, like, I'm not implying my first job also has to be anime. But, like, if you find, the point is if I find that I like this certain job, then I will probably try to direct my career trajectory towards it because I feel very passionate about it. I feel like if you have enough passion about, like, a job, then you can absolutely develop the skill to become an expert in it and be in demand as an expert. And that sentiment was kind of the same for the panelists. Like, I would say all of them said advice like that in some form or another, which is like, I've always been authentic to myself and what I wanted, and like I've always followed what I'm passionate about, and that's how they landed their jobs, or what led them to these like senior level or their dream jobs or etc. And yeah. I feel like right now in school, I feel like I've been dipping my toes in everything, and something I don't really like as much as others. And one of their advices was like, really dive into the stuff you feel excited about. And yeah. Again, that doesn't mean I refuse to do other stuff. It just means I will be more I don't know how to explain it, but like not in a way, like more passionate, but not in a way that takes away from the other skills that I'm learning. And also, besides the practicality of it, I just think it's interesting to talk about. And I feel like when you say, like, but you're not even at that level yet, and you don't even have to consider it. I feel like it's like shutting down the like, don't even think about that yet, you know? And I'm not like trying to be, I feel like you say that because you think that I am misunderstanding how my like first job process might look, and that I can understand. But I don't think there's like, I don't think I have like a misunderstanding right now. I mean, there's definitely things I don't understand, but I know that the industry, when you're first starting out, is very hard to get a foot in the door. And like you really, like, if you're in that position, you really can't afford to like pick and choose when you only get like 1 or 2 offers. 2 if you're lucky, I guess. But you know, it can just be fun to talk about sometimes. Like, and interesting. There's so many different types of design, and like because of the age that we're in, the technology age, like there are so many niche creatives that make a job for themselves in this industry and age, and it's, you know, I don't know. It's just interesting. That's all.
Also, I wasn't saying it's too early to think about what type of design you want to go into. I was saying it's too early to think about if you want to go into the managerial route or senior individual contributor route.
I think that's fair. I think I had an idea of the managerial route being like scheduling stuff for people, but it is not what I thought it would be, and I mean, I don't know. If I really did genuinely like that kind of stuff, I don't know if it would be like that weird to think about. But like, obviously, when I'm working on my portfolio, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, so I managed a bunch of people on this piece of work. Like, this most
You don't
likely,
say
like,
that
I'm
when
gonna
you're
be
a
like,
manager. You just talk about what you delivered.
yeah. I mean, I was like a student. You'll probably, at most, when you're mentioning other people, be like, yeah, I collaborated with my classmates or my coworkers. So yes, I wouldn't be preparing for that kind of stuff. But like, I don't know. I don't think it's like completely. I don't think there's anything wrong with being like. I don't know. Is there a downside to being like, oh yeah, I might like this role, maybe. But I know like
Being senior, junior, or entry level is not a role. It's this, like, I don't see it as a choice. You can't enter the industry as a tech lead. It just doesn't work like that. So that's why I say it's too early. Like, regardless of what type of design you choose, UI, UX, whatever, it's going to be as an entry level. And as you work as an entry level, you'll find out what it's like to be a senior designer and what it's like to be a manager.
Well, if manager is really like that, I don't think I want to be one. But I don't know. I can see what you're saying. It's like someone saying, yeah, I think I would like being a CEO. But like,
The thing is, you can start as a CEO. You just start your own company.
but like it's
But I know what you're trying to say.
but like people might actually like that type of work, but they just there's not many. I don't know. I mean, unless you're really rich, I guess you could get an entry role into CEO, but it is like a level, a tier. But I do think like the responsibilities you have or the skills that you need for that role are different. then maybe what your your base foundation technical role is. I don't know. I feel like it is different being a CEO and then like whatever your level 2 person.
I think there also tend to be two different types of CEOs. You can either be a technical CEO like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, or it can be a managerial CEO like Andy Jassy.
Like, you know, there are stories of that happening where like some person starts out at like a base level job and then works their way up all the way to like the upper ladder, and they're definitely not doing the same thing they were at their base level job. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be going to school for design to use that kind of work. But I guess I was just thinking, like, if I was approached with the opportunity, would I want to go into it? But that's like definitely a hypothetical and not something like I'm not thinking about starting off as a L3 graphic designer or whatever. Or L4. It's more of like, I don't know, for fun.
My answer to that is I don't think you can answer that question now until you have experienced what it's like to be L1 and then L2, so you know what it's like to transition between two different roles, and then you can extrapolate what that would be like at a higher level.
Well, is there more validity to say I feel like our general like the way that you talk about is like if I think, oh yeah, I possibly could like this role, your answer would be you don't know if you'd like that role or not because you haven't been in yet. But then if I said I don't think I would like this role, you might say, yeah, I don't think you would like that role. But like,
No,
if it's actually like you don't know, then
I think it's like saying
wouldn't it be the same answer both ways?
I think it's like saying you think you would like cocaine when you haven't done weed or much like psychobilin yet. It's like you haven't experienced what it's like at the first level. There's like so much about corporate life that you haven't lived through that it's very hard to get an accurate feeling of what it's like at X level of the corporate ladder. But once you have worked as a certain level and you have interacted with all these people in your daily work life, then you will have a better idea of what that work looks like.
I like event planner. I don't like being liable for other people and managing incompetent people, but that's pretty much literally anyone.
The good thing about management is that you are in charge of your team, so unless you're taking over a new team, actually, most managers will be taking a pre-existing team. You fire people, you hire people. If incompetent people are on your team, it's your, like, you let them in. But yeah, that's if you join an existing company. If you're like, usually it's a technical lead who will create the team from scratch, and in that case, not a incompetent team, hopefully. I just got a second katana in Sekiro.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like through my life experiences, I feel like I'm always the one trying to keep JSA on track. This is not at all a professional environment, of course, but like, I don't know. Maybe you don't need a manager to even realize how off track they get, but
No, I would say that JSA someone who keeps the meeting on track is not a manager, but like someone who would say, okay, you do the drawing, you do the cooking. Let's say there's a boba thing. You say you do the advertisement, you make the boba, you get the agreement with the school. That's kind of what a manager would do. That's what a project manager would do.
well, that's the president's role, and our vice president was like, "Oh, Stephanie, you should be the president when he's gone because he's graduating next year." I'm like, "Ain't no way."
You could.
She said it would
Might be a
good
lot of work, though.
leadership. Yeah, she said it would be a good leadership opportunity, but the only problem is you can't really fire people as easily, I think, from the club.
You can in JSA, you just don't make them do anything.
Yeah, but you have to hire vocational people.
Yes, you would need to hire a replacement.
Our hiring team is having difficulty hiring people. think they really assign jobs to people though, because I think like everyone kind of automatically assumes who's doing what just because we have our individual roles. Like there's a treasurer, and then there's graphic designer, event coordinator, vice president, president, social media.
Why does
like
the vice president not want to be the president?
Because she'll be graduating along with him, and he's going to be president until he graduates. And maybe I think she might. I'm not actually want to be president either because it's a lot of work. Your president gets distracted. That's a lot of work. At least last year, because everyone else was too fucking lazy to help him. I felt bad for him. Because he was like up in the wee hours of early morning cooking and like getting shit together for our events and stuff. And then like pretty much like more than half of our club members, like board members, quit this year.
Why?
Because it's too much work and they couldn't handle it. So
are they still in the club? They're just not doing stuff?
no, basically how temple clubs works is that you can't be a member of the club unless you're part of the board.
What?
And the actual like participation, like if you don't want to be a member, or if you don't want to be a board person but you still want to participate in club events, is just like going to the events that the board members hold for the club, which are called group GBMs.
Yeah. Can't you do that? Can they do that? Do they do that?
People do attend the group club meetings, but it's not like you sign up to like become a member for it. You just go to the event. It's like an event basically.
Yeah.
But like there's no like official like.
That's the same as most colleges, I would say. But I would say that if you go to every GBM, you are a member.
Yeah, but there's also like what if I want to be that member, that kind of member, but I want to help out with the fundraisers too, but I don't want to be a board member. Then what?
You want to be what member?
I want to help out with the fundraisers, but I don't want to be a board member. Like, only the board members do the fundraisers and handle that kind of stuff.
I would say that you probably want to still be on the board, but just say no to certain things, certain requests.
That's what I did last semester. And I felt kind of bad because I feel like part of the reason I got my scholarship was because I talked about my participation in JSA. I used them.
That's life.
But also, I just, like, from a non, like, merits aside, I just felt bad for the JSI president. Like, everyone else was slacking off so much that he had to, like, pretty much do everything himself. So the semester, I was like, okay, I'm going to help out more when I can. Like, not help out when I genuinely can. And also, I don't want to go to the parties that is off the table no matter what. I felt bad for him, so. He was like, I respected him, kind of. Like, I feel like he could have been more adamant about, like, wanting other people to help. But, he also, like, that part where he did a lot of the work himself, like, he got that shit done. So. Like, I respect that he follows through with plans no matter what. Even though he's a little bit Papeja, I guess distracted a lot. I also got experience from my last job that I had. In the Penn State campus